Yo, what is up, everybody? Happy Friday. We are not recording, we are live. So if you're joining us, it's good to see you. You may know this, but my name is Logan, and I am on a mission to implement decentralized governance into the fabric of society. And I am here with Justin. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's up, everyone? How are we doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a good Friday afternoon, and today we have something that we are sharing that me and Justin have put a lot of thought into as we try to drive adoption of DAOs, this new organizational structure that is really increasing capabilities across verticals, across industries for community governance. So we're going to talk about the phases of DAOification. But before we start, let's kind of take a step back. In simple terms, Justin, what is a DAO to you?
Yeah, I think a DAO is a community-focused group of people or an organization. So I think that there's a lot of different kind of phases that a DAO can be from being super on-chain in crypto, but I think that there's also applications of community-centric kind of organizations that can also kind of share some of the ethos of a more on-chain crypto DAO. Uh, yeah, excited to talk about that today.
Yeah. To me, DAOs are at like in the simplest form, they're just a new type of organizational structure. So, like an LLC, like a corporation, it's a structured way to organize. But instead of being built for, board members and employees, it's built for core contributors and communities around it. So it's really, I really think the framing should be seen as that DAOs are not going to replace existing organizational structures, but DAOs are going to be used to complement. I think in some places they can replace them in the future, but in the meantime, there's so many different ways that DAOs can actually complement existing organizational structures as well. Um, so yeah, we're going to be talking about the phases of DAOification today. And this is a 9-phase process that you can really apply to any community, any organization. And we've built this framework. So as we try to drive adoption of this organizational structure, we can actually explain to any type of customer or client why they should be interested in a DAO. So let's get into phase one, community gated content. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, so this is really just an organization who wants to start to kind of create a gated off community. So a lot of times this is like an exclusive part of their broader community. We see a lot of like creators and things like that being interested in this and some early stage uh, communities in even the crypto ecosystem. So wanting to be able to share information with kind of your inner community is kind of I would say phase one of DAOification.
Yeah. So that phase one is being like, okay, there's something that I only want the community to see. Something like that. It could be, you know, exclusive content. It could be, access to rewards. Really, anything like that. So that's phase one. So jumping into phase two, community incentives and leaderboards. And this is really when you start to, kind of tick on and you have this community. They might be engaging with content on there, but now you want to get more out of your community. You want them to contribute more to the organization. So you start to build this kind of decentralized way of incentivizing people to contribute to your KPIs and kind of activate your super fans in a way. That's kind of how I think about this. And then you have the competition aspect where your super fans can actually see they're earning badges, they're getting rewards in the community competition, they're able to redeem for different prizes, and you can really gamify your community in phase two.
Yeah, so in phase two, you're leveling up and earning gems when you're using the Clarity platform specifically to complete these community incentives. And that kind of leads into phase three. So phase three is actually starting to use those gems for some early community voting. So basically, like Logan pointed out, you're enabling your super fans and able to keep a leaderboard of who is doing the most in your community to move kind of the purpose of that community forward, whether that's sharing content or contributing in some way or using an app. So we're able to track who is your biggest community participants and the most engaged members in your community. And now we're able to actually vote based on who has participated the most in that community. So by voting based on those contributions, you're getting a weighted vote that weights more towards the people who are most active and most engaged.
Yeah. So those first three phases, I think the one thing to highlight about them as we move into phase four is that they can all happen off chain. You don't have to issue digital assets. You don't have to record anything on chain. This is like the gamification, and you can have community incentives and all this stuff. But then in phase four, you really start to getting into starting your Web3 journey, starting your crypto journey per se with a lot of people. And a lot of companies, they're thinking about this. They're like, okay, we hear about crypto, like Web3 is supposed to be the future, but we don't know how to attack it. So phase four, once an organization gets to that point, you enter phase four where they're like, maybe they're trying to find a new revenue stream by launching an NFT, or maybe the business wants to give all of their season ticket holders or loyal members an NFT so that they can have more voting power, and it's something special and it's attached to cool art, whatever it is. But that's what phase four is all about, is starting your Web3 journey and your crypto journey by distributing a digital asset to your community.
Yeah, and then for phase five, that's actually starting to use those digital assets that we issue in phase four. And we build on those in a similar way to how we build on gems to do voting, but now we are able to vote using those digital assets as well. So basically, the participants of your organization can earn these digital assets by being a member, being a participant, and then we can actually weight their vote in the organization, in the decisions made based on their number of digital assets held. So this is just a more permanent way, I guess, for organizational members to kind of build up their reputation and their weight in an organization, is to actually start collecting these digital assets instead of the gems, just because that gives them the ability to actually own those, take those off the Clarity platform, trade them, send them away. It gives them kind of some more ownership. So if you are, more interested in the crypto side of things, it gives your users kind of a lot more agency over the reputation points that they're building up.
Yeah. So this is kind of all on this, phase five, you really get into this like decentralization index where you have centralized and decentralized, and there's all these different decisions that you can make of how to decentralize yourself a little more, or, go to the next phase of your DAOification journey in this case. And this is to create a multi-sig community wallet. So really, we'll get into like fully on-chain treasury management in the next phases here. But this would be that instead of one person in the community having control over something, you actually create a transparent community sig wallet, multi-sig wallet, where there's multiple signers that have jurisdiction over the funds for the DAO. So that's what this phase is all about. It's decentralized, turning that decentralization knob just a little bit, and having a multi-sig community wallet.
Yeah, so like Logan said, that community multi-sig wallet will start to get used kind of once the community has some sort of funds or something that they want to actually custody. So moving on to phase seven, if that amount is significant, and the community wants to really have some extra assurances on how these decisions are being made, wants to have all of the guarantees of the Cardano blockchain to ensure the immutability of voting records and all that comes along with posting data to the blockchain, we're able to record these votes on chain. So this, like I said, creates a more auditable record, and is really important once you kind of start to have a significant amount of funds, that this kind of stuff really begins to matter a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And that's when we move to phase eight, which is actually creating a DAO community treasury. So this puts the A in that acronym. So decentralized autonomous organization. So once you create a DAO treasury, You actually create a smart contract treasury where there is actually other smart contracts that set all of the governance rules over the treasury. So the only way to get funds out of this treasury is to have a community-wide vote. So that's kind of the phase 8, is really putting your treasury into a community-owned smart contract where the community actually governs it, controls it, and that's a huge step in creating a DAO as well.
Yeah, and then just to kind of tie this back towards the beginning of the talk, so DAOs are a new actual legal entity that exist in the world and are recognized in multiple jurisdictions all over the world now. So the last kind of phase that we enable for a community's DAOification is to actually enable you to set up a legal DAO entity. So we have a couple different connections with lawyers all throughout the world, like I mentioned, in these different jurisdictions. So different jurisdictions will have kind of pros and cons to working in them, different pricing and different laws. So definitely we can help kind of through that journey and introduce you to people that you're interested in. But this is basically the final stage of DAOification and can help to kind of reduce some of the individual liabilities that may come along with creating this type of organization. So this is for our most advanced DAO members who are already operating under a DAO structure and want to formalize and kind of protect the members.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that's one of the most interesting phases, honestly, because you have, this new organizational structure. It's not recognized in all jurisdictions yet, but it's recognized in a lot of the different jurisdictions. So it's like, okay, where do you incorporate? How do you handle certain situations? But yeah, like Justin said, we can help to find the right connections for you so that you can accomplish phase 9, which is tough to do, but we can help. Um, so now that we've gone through all the phases, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a few use cases, and we're going to unpack a few, how this use case could use a DAO and kind of how you would think about them within the phase structure that we just built out. So the first one I'm going to do is give Justin a content creator or like an influencer. How could they use a DAO, and what are the things you would think about if you were talking to this type of person about creating a DAO? Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. The
No, you're
nice part
good.
about these phases is that it gives you kind of a context to view all of these kind of DAO ideas through. So thinking about an influencer right away, I think it's pretty clear to see how an influencer could use phases 1 through 3. So to refresh everybody, phase 1 is community gated content. So an influencer could obviously have like their closest super fans sign up for some community gated content where maybe they get an extra video each week or access to a video maybe a day before everybody else. So I think that is pretty easy to see how that could overlay onto a influencer. Then I think that you can definitely also imagine how they could be a phase 2 organization. So this would be incentivizing the community to do certain actions. So especially for an influencer who gets a lot of benefit from social interactions and maybe following affiliate links and things like this, it'd be interesting to see kind of the incentives that they could create for their community members to level up. But you can definitely see how participating, engaging more within influencers' content could level you up on that influencers leaderboard. And then lastly, staying in that kind of off-chain world, I think that an influencer could also pretty easily implement some community voting based on the contributions of phase 2. So this could be, determining the next video or content series that the creator makes, and really kind of give a voice to that community. Influencers, I think, are a great example because they're kind of dependent on their community. The community is what makes an influencer able to be an influencer. So the more power that an influencer can basically give to their community, the stronger I think that makes that influencer.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then I think in terms of, other things you can think about maybe for influencers is, if are they trying to get another revenue stream? Do they want to open up their audience a little more by going to phase 4 and issuing some digital assets, and going to phase 5 and having people vote with those? So you can see of how you can kind of slowly move along this different phase cycle to DAOify yourself and realize all the benefits of this new organizational structure. So next one that I want to talk about is DeFi protocols. So in terms of, where might you fall on this phase list as a DeFi protocol? How would you unpack that, Justin?
Yeah, so I'd say a lot of DeFi protocols probably already have some sort of digital asset that's been issued. So they're really starting closer to phase 4. We can always work backwards if you haven't set up, community incentives and all of that stuff. So we can definitely meet you at phase 4 and kind of backfill what needs to be backfilled. But really from there, I think that a DeFi protocol can really look to level up all the way to level 9. So they have their digital asset. We're able to basically move in and create some community governance around that digital asset. So their largest holders have their voice heard, and people are kind of financially incentivized to be uh, bought into the project to have a voice. And then we can move to phase 6 optionally. So this is creating the multi-sig. So we give the option to basically set this up or jump straight ahead to creating an on-chain DAO. Um, Along with that comes recording votes on chain. So this is giving that DeFi protocol a more immutable set of voting records. So this is especially important, I would say, for a DeFi protocol because nobody really technically owns or operates. I guess not operates, but nobody technically owns that DeFi protocol themselves. So there's no kind of trusted central authority to basically manage this voting and run it all through. So using kind of the decentralized guarantees that we get from the Cardano blockchain really starts to matter in these kind of decentralized protocols. Moving on, you create your actual DAO treasury. So this is when you're moving the money into your smart contract governed treasury. So that would be phase 8. So that would be important for a DeFi protocol because they're actually likely, hopefully, generating revenue. So that revenue needs to be stored somewhere. And to be truly decentralized, we think that the owners of that of those funds should be the token holders of that DeFi protocol. So that's how we kind of accomplish that, is to create a community DAO treasury that is token gated. And then the last step is to set up a legal DAO entity. So once you've completed all those other phases, that DeFi protocol can look to actually create a DAO entity to give some protections to all of its individual members that do hold the token and especially participate in governance.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note is about, with DeFi protocols, you're going to find people with different needs. Maybe you just need a staking platform, or maybe you need, to have community temperature checks. There's all these different phases where there might be different kind of holes that you could patch along your DAOification process. And every different DeFi protocol needs something different. So the next one I want to talk about is soccer clubs. Now this is another kind of real world organization, and I think phases 1 through 5 are where I see a soccer club. I think number one is, as a soccer club, you really want to engage your fans. Like, you want your fans to love you. You want your fans to like, the stadium, how the team is playing. You want to hear their feedback. You want them to enjoy renewing their season tickets, things like that. So how do you make the best fan experience possible? And I think phase 1 with community gated content of like, hey, you really like us, come to this community and you'll be treated right. Like whether it's, exclusive content with players or with the manager or anything like that. There's a ton of things you could do in terms of communicated content and rewards. And then what you can do in order to actually activate these fans and get their noses pointed in the right direction is enter into phase two, where you can have community incentives and leaderboards. So you may have different KPIs, whether it's social impressions, whether it's renewed season tickets, whether it's the amount of people tailgating or whatever it may be. You can create these incentives to actually contribute to the club's KPIs and get more people to know about it and get more people interested in coming to games. Um, and then in order to really reward your fans and make decisions with your fan base and your biggest fans in mind is to begin community voting. So as people complete incentives, they'll keep stacking up points, they'll get more influence within the fan base, and then they'll actually be able to help shape which jersey should we release next season, or what special meal should we sell at the stadium, where should the players volunteer to, different things like that. Um, and then if the clubs want to, open up a new revenue stream and start to really gamify this and enter into the world of Web3, they can start to issue digital assets, and they can start voting with those digital assets, and you can kind of see how it goes. But yeah, I think soccer clubs is a really interesting DAO use case that we're trying to unpack in a real heavy way here at Clarity. So the last use case we're going to chat about on this live is investment clubs. And I think that in terms of the phases, investment clubs will probably have already issued a digital asset. If you're a Web3 investment club, they'll probably have a digital asset. So I'm thinking more of phase 5 to 9 in terms of, okay, so there's this investment club, you have people buying in, they buy in, and then they get influence for however much they buy in. They might be able to delegate it as well, but they can start actually making decisions together, whether this is a angel investor syndicate or whether it's I think one thing is, when you start to build these types of things, you really have to think about phase 9 as well. That's one thing when I think of investment clubs, I definitely think of phase 9, because these are people that are deploying capital in order to make revenue, and you really need a legal entity to go along with your DAO for that. But yeah, anything else you want to add to any of those two use cases, Shren?
Yeah, just in general, I think that this should help to give people kind of more of a context to view kind of organizations through, and to see how a DAO kind of structure could potentially overlay onto an existing organization. So really at a high level, I guess the spark notes of this is phases 1 through 3, I would say, apply to pretty much any community-based organization, whether it's on-chain or off-chain. So if it is a crypto native community, that's great. We can obviously set up some community rewards and incentives for them. If they're not a community that's based on the blockchain, this stuff still definitely applies to them, and gets a community at least involved in the decision making process. And from there, basically there's an option to upgrade to being on chain. So a lot of the crypto native projects will be familiar with the benefits of being on chain. This gives us a reason to kind of encourage those non-crypto organizations to get on chain. So I would say that kind of encapsulates phases 4 and 5, as far as issuing and voting with digital assets. And then I would say from phase 6 through 9, that's really once this organization is custodying some sort of funds that have some significance. So, you can definitely get your community involved in decision making without them controlling the financial aspect of things. But as soon as you do decide to give your community kind of that power, that's when we're looking to upgrade from phases 1 through 5 to phases 6 through 9. So I think that gives you kind of a good window to look at organizations through, and hopefully you can kind of imagine in your head, oh, this is a phase 1 organization that could get up to a phase 5, or this is a phase 4 organization that could get up to a phase, 7. Whatever it is, I think that that gives you a good idea to work off of.
Yeah, and we're going to work on making some graphics to explain this as well. I know this is some dense stuff, but I mean, when I look at the world, and I hope a lot of people within Clarity, I see a lot of DAOs, and I see a lot of reasons for there to be more community involvement, more transparency in the process. So it gets me really excited. And as you know, me and Justin think deeply about this new organizational structure that Clarity makes possible really easily. It's like, okay, how can we reach the real world with this? How can we onboard people into these systems, and because they'll enjoy it more? So yeah, I think that is about it from us today. But before we go, I want to do something a little spur of the moment here, because I think it deserves a mention, and that is to tell you guys about the Orca Network. And I swear this is not an ad. This is actually just a tool some of my best friends in college made. But really, what you do is you come onto their website, theorcanetwork.com, you put in your startup's profile, and then what you're able to actually do is it takes in all your different, stuff, and it's like a network of investors and entrepreneurs. And then they use AI and identify relevant investors to you. So here it spit out 1,998 investors. And what you can do is you can come down here, you can read all about the investor's thesis, the focus areas, what they do, you get their email, and you can even just have it draft an email for you, and you can see it working here. So I just wanted to shout out the Orca Network because it's a cool tool. So I don't know if Charlie or Arda will ever see this, but if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to raise money, it is a pretty sweet tool to leverage. Other than that, we hope you guys enjoyed that little presentation on DAO phases. I think DAOs are going to be everywhere soon. I think this is a complementary organizational structure to traditional legal entities, and it really opens up a lot of doors in terms of organizing people and pushing power to the edges in new ways within society. So, Justin, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, thank you for the time, everybody, today. Hopefully this gives you an idea of, as you come across an organization, how to kind of contextualize it within a DAO framework. Yeah, like Logan said, I think that giving some visuals to go along with this will definitely go a long way. So definitely keep an eye out for that. But yeah, excited to get this content out there and let people kind of let their imaginations run for how organizations that they encounter in their daily lives could potentially be a DAO.
Absolutely. And this is all we're doing this because we really want to drive adoption of DAOs. So if you feel passionate about that, check out our Discord. It's in our Twitter bio. It's it's all around. But the last thing I was going to mention something, I'm kind of blanking. I'm blanking, but we'll chat with you guys soon. Appreciate your guys' time today. Peace out.